dreams for your kids?
For my kids?
Yeah. Or even, Tina, the farthest reaching hopes and dreams that you have.
I want my kids to live full lives without limitations put on them by society.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
It takes a lot of work.
It most definitely.
I want my kids to be good people. I want them to grow up and care about others. And I've got some adult kids that are pretty good about that.
Yeah.
So.
That's yeah, I think it is.
That was it.
Anytime I ask people that question, and no matter what they say, like, I want my kid to do karate, I want my kid to go to college, those are two great answers. Those are two great answers. But every time I go through and I start tracing it back, and I was like, okay, can they do that, and can they have all of that without being in good health?
It's tough.
It is tough.
That makes it harder, for sure.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
If you're constantly, even to be a good person, I know plenty of good people. I know plenty of good people that have walked through my front door that have been uncomfortable. And on that first day, Alyssa's like, I don't know if you guys are going to connect very well. And it's like, you can't put that limitation on someone on the first day. I was like, if they've gone a couple weeks and they're still pretty grouchy, they might just be grouchy. But if they just come in and they're grouchy that morning, that afternoon, whatever it is, sometimes you're like, oh, this person is really difficult. Not saying they're a bad person. They might be a good person still, but it might just be a little difficult humanity when you have that discomfort within yourself.
Discomfort makes you happy.
Yeah, they do.
I'm here so you don't have to play tennis.
Thanks, I appreciate that. When I start talking about kids and chiropractic, yeah, I'm talking about chiropractic because I'm going to talk about how the nervous system affects the immune system. But really what we're going to talk about today is the immune system and immune imbalance. When I have kids come into the practice, I don't have kids come into practice and I don't have families being ripped apart because the kids have chickenpox, because the kids have measles or mumps or rubella. I don't have kids coming in where, and that's what parents are freaking out, and that's what's tearing families apart. I have kids coming in because they have chronic ear infection, they have colic, they can't sleep, they have autism, they have severe allergies, they have asthma, these are my issues of today. So looking at that, why are those happening? Because right now they're rampant. I actually looked up numbers this morning for all of these figures. So allergies is 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10 kids have allergies. That's 30%. That is ridiculous. Autism is 1 in 68. It's actually 1 in 66 in the United States. The 68 was from a Australia stat that had just been released, so I took it. But it's 1 in 66 in the United States. If you price out a child with autism all the way into the end, into adulthood, we're talking serious dough for stuff that we need. Asthma is 1 in 12. So in 2009, that was about 20 million kids. I couldn't get a full stat on how many kids are between 0 and 18 right now, so I was having a little trouble this morning. Autism, or eczema, is 2 out of 10. And obesity is not part of the immune system, but I have to talk about obesity because it's a severe stressor. Obesity is 33% of our children right now, so 3 out of 10. You start adding those figures up, oh my gosh, we have a catastrophic issue that's going to be coming down the pipeline. Not only for parents supporting those children with all of those issues, but as those kids become adults, I have to say the pharmaceutical company from cradle till grave with all of those things going on. This a tiny bit. I hope that there's 90 parents watching this right now, because I think the thing that really breaks my heart is that the government wants us to be foolish. They want us to be dumb. They want us to be compliant. They want us to not ask questions and not talk back. When they do that, whatever agenda they have planned for us, whoever they're partnering up with or in bed with, we could say, and a lot of those are the big ad companies, or ag companies, the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Being here tonight, getting the information that I'm going to share with you can completely change the health of a child for their entire life. And I think just knowing that should scare the crap out of the people that want to control our society and the way that it's going to go in the future. But if it continues to go in this direction, in this manner, with these numbers, we're in severe trouble, and we're going to be we're already bankrupt, but we're going to be more bankrupt as a country than we already are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be nobody, I feel like Donald Trump saying this, there's going to be nobody left to run this country. Because I'm pretty sure he said that. So now I feel really awkward and really sleazy, but there's not going to be anybody left to run this country. So I'll say it again. So I really appreciate you guys being here and taking time, and yeah, it means a lot. The first thought, stuff is easy, simplistic for, oh, this is not a touchscreen. It's simplistic and easy for all of you. So the first question is, why would a child need chiropractic, right? Chiropractic, all you have to know is that the brain communicates with the body via the nervous system. It goes out to every single cell, tissue, organ in the body. So what does the nervous system, what's the nervous system do? What's it affect? What does it control?
Everything.
Nailed it, everything. So when you look at that, why would a child not need chiropractic care if we're talking about the system that controls everything and all we're talking about is maintaining it? The cool part about kids is they don't have all of the stuff, the traumas, the thoughts, all these toxins that have accumulated over a lifetime, that when you walk through that front door at 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever it may be, when you walked in the front door, they don't have all of that extra baggage. The hard part is that the society that we live in, they already have a lot of baggage. So I'm going to look at that. The vertebral subluxation means the misalignment in those vertebrae, putting pressure into the nervous system, causing it usually starts out as dis-ease, uneasiness within the body, leading to dysfunction, which then leads to disease of any sort. All of these things that we just talked about are disease. They're a form of chronic disease, which is crazy when you're talking about kids, because how could a kid have something chronic? Chronic means it's been there a long time. It was just born. How does it have a chronic disease? Leading to disease, and once disease happens, it's death. So there's a spectrum that's continually on that plane. You guys know this. You guys know what chiropractic is. So let's look at stressors that kids have today. Certain stressors that kids have today, when we go to thoughts, so a stressful pregnancy, I have to go in utero because this is when two cells come together to make 76 trillion cells. So if there's a stressful pregnancy, and stressful pregnancy can mean mental thought between society, mother, work, mother, whatever it may be, any way the mom is processing her environment can be a stressful thought. The really crazy part, I read a book and it's called The Honeymoon Effect, and it was called, do you know that book? By Bruce Lipton?
Right now.
You are? That's awesome that you just say that.
And biology of belief too.
Yeah, biology of belief is such a good book. Well, maybe it's in biology of belief. I think it was in The Honeymoon Effect. But either way, Bruce Lipton, who is the father basically of epigenetics, meaning the environment above the gene, how the gene expresses itself is based on the environment. But he goes through, and I don't know if you've read this yet, but he goes through how in utero, the thoughts that mom has, how it affects baby and how it changes the baby's like frequency and brain waves.
Than the chemicals and the hormones of fear or anger or...
Nailed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't have time for this, but can I tell you a very quick story? It's a very quick personal story. Mm-hmm. Yes? Okay, it'll be so fast. I was very, very, very pregnant with Indy, probably within my last month, and I had a terrible nightmare that Andrew had left me for somebody else. And when I was having this dream, and he left me when I was like large, and he left me for one of my girlfriends, which was really random, and I was like, you're leaving me? And he's like, well, we always said our relationship was going to be open. And I was like, and then in our dream, I mean, in real life, we've never talked like that. But in this dream, I'm like, what? We okay? Yeah. And then I was like, well, we said open, but I didn't know you were going to choose an open this relationship when I'm this pregnant, where I have nowhere to flock off to, which is, again, nothing we've talked about. And so we go through this dream, and he leaves me for this other woman, where he's like, yeah, I think we are just going to be together, and I think we want to have a close relationship, and we are just going to be together. And I'm like, great, and I'm going to have this baby by myself. And in my dream, I was sobbing. I was crying so hard that Andrew next to me tapped me, and he said, no matter what you're dreaming about, it's not going to happen. He had no idea what I was dreaming about, but he's like, it's not going to happen. It's okay. And I remember sitting there in bed, and I was crying so hard, and the hard part was, I knew he wasn't going to leave me. Like, I knew that that wasn't an option. I knew that that's not where we were going. I never felt insecure about that ever. And I remember waking up and crying, and I remember thinking, I don't feel like I'm crying for myself. This doesn't feel like it's mine. This doesn't feel like it's for me. So I go and I call my mom, and I tell her that story, and she's like, oh, well, when I was pregnant with you, sorry, Dad, if you're watching this is your story, but I was born in October. My dad ended up leaving my mom in December. And she's like, I always knew there was like something, but I didn't really know what. But he fully just left her with 3 children. And she said it was a really hard time because he would come and pick up your brothers, but he would never pick you up. And I always knew there was like something going on because he worked out of town. She's like, so I always just knew. And she's like, yeah, it sounds pretty similar like to what happened to me. And it was for a full year. And then he came back, and I'm not saying it was good, but it was good, and we were family again. But that experience, literally, that was like a shared experience that I had with her, which is so crazy. And then I had the exact same dream, and it was really wild. That means nothing, and that's such a far tangent from what we're going to go into. But kind of, it's kind of a tangent, but it is so intermixed, and everything that mom goes through 100% shows up in baby stress. So stress of mom, baby, family, time in the hospital, NICU, all of those things, 100%. How the baby comes into this world, you have to think this baby is in this dark little womb that's warm and comfortable and sweet and kind and gets sang to and talked to, and resonance of love come into it. And then all of a sudden it comes into this world, and it's stark white, and it's bright, and it's harsh. And then if you're carted off away from the one thing that you've heard for months on end, and it's gone, and now you're in a NICU and you're alone, and that's terrifying. Yeah. Would that not be terrifying? That would be terrifying for me.
2 months each.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And that's an internal thing that child is dealing with. Medical testing, pricking a foot, all of that stuff. Circumcision, I'm like, all those things do come into effect. Trauma, birth trauma for sure. So there was a study done, and I think his name was Geitman. Let me see here. It doesn't really matter. Oh, Gutman. So it was called the Gutman study, and he took all vaginal delivery, so natural delivery, and he of children that were born naturally, no intervention, no nothing, had Kiss syndrome. Kiss syndrome basically means it's a kinesthetic imbalance in the musculature of the suboccipital or the upper neck, aka it's a subluxation of your occiput C1 or C2. 70% of children had a subluxation C1, causing imbalance in their nervous system, causing dysfunction within their body. 70% of a natural birth. If they had any sort of medical intervention, 100% of those children had a sprain strain, basically a whiplash injury of the upper neck, causing interference in those children. So here's some things I obviously probably don't want to hear about, but if forceps are used, to pull a child out, that's 70%, that's 70 pounds of weight on that baby's neck. So even though when the baby falls out, they're like, oh, careful, be gentle on that neck. It's like, whoa, you just used 70 pounds of pressure to pull that kid out. If it's doctor guided and the doctor pulls the baby out, whether it's by C-section or if it's doctor guided, a lot of times when a baby's being born, the head will go and it will start taking a direction on its own. It doesn't need anybody's help. But a lot of times if a doctor is sitting on one side, he'll go and he'll redirect and he'll pull the baby the other way to make it easier for him or her to bring that baby out. And they've done studies on that, and they'll use 60 to 90 pounds of pressure when they pull that kid out. So that much weight's going on to that neck as they pull a kid out. But then once the kid's out, be like, oh, gentle on that neck. Well, you're like, well, for sure, you just broke it. That musculature is demolished at this point. Like, of course we should be gentle. So that being a huge trauma to kids. Journey through the birth canal, yes. Spinal distress, forceps, sorry to talk about that. Toxins. Toxins is where it gets really, really, really big. And I'm probably going to spend most of because this thoughts, yes, you can control. You can't control if a kid goes into a NICU. You can't go, you can control medical intervention. They've shown, they did a study with women that were having hospital births that were being adjusted during that time, and 50% of them disregarded using pain medication. They feel like they didn't need it, so they didn't use it. It cut down like 45% on medical intervention as a whole. And so, don't get me wrong, there is some things you can do, but for the most part, when it comes to that, you can't do anything. So I want to spend most of my time on toxins because those toxins are going to affect how it shifts the immune system. The immune system is what affects all the different things that I was saying. So let's look at toxins. The toxins that I have out there are vaccines. You have to look at vaccines. And if your kid's been vaccinated, that's fine. That's your choice. That's no big deal. If your kid's been vaccinated, you should 100% do a vaccine detox. Vaccines still have heavy metals in them. They have mercury, they have aluminum, they have formaldehyde, which is a known carcinogen. They have preservatives, polysorbate 80, which we 100% know causes infertility. There's so many different things in them. If your kid's ever been vaccinated, doing a vaccine detox is an amazing idea. You can do them really slow, really gentle. There's tons of different stuff you can do. Anything from as simple as making a SIDS bath with lavender in it to help pull it from like feet, armpits, any of their places where they excrete sweat. So I mean literally the skin. Doing anything from that to feeding them certain foods certain times of the day so the body can detox and push stuff out. So yes, 100% should, any kids that have been vaccinated, definitely should do that. Can I say one more thing about vaccines? And by the time a kid hits 8 years old, they've had 36 vaccines. So that's a lot. That's intense. Most of them are compounds of different things that they've never 100% tested together. This is my other last thing about vaccines. Sorry. And then I'm off of it and I'm done. The other last thing I want to say, there is scientific fraud that's happened in the CDC. The head scientist came forward, Dr. William Thompson came forward, and he said, hey, just so you know, after 10 years, I feel really guilty. I hurt a lot of children, and I can't keep it quiet anymore. And he came forward and he said, we committed scientific fraud. We know that the MMR vaccine causes autism. We know that it does, especially in Hispanics, especially in Black children. 100% know it, and especially in boys.
And did it anyway.
And what?
Did it anyway.
And they did it anyway. In fact, not only did they do it, they actually came in with a garbage can and they got rid of all the research that said any of that. Dr. William Thompson was the smartest one, and he kept all of his files backed up on his computer. He eventually gave it to Senator Bill Posey, who's the senator of Florida. He's a Republican senator of Florida. And he brought it to CNN. You can see it on C-SPAN. He's talking about, like, this is an issue and this is a problem. Nobody ever talked about it.
Right.
So that's the last thing. Okay. And that's just something you can control. That's all. That's something. So Prevacid heartburn. Heartburn's huge. Acid reflux in a child it's rampant. I see it in a lot of children. So again, something to cause the acid in the stomach. Big deal. Antibiotics, yes. Antibiotics just demolish all your good bacteria. Cleaning products. There's been studies done on cleaning products that if you use harsh cleaning products, it's the equivalent of your child inhaling 20 cigarettes every time you clean something. So if you bust out Clorox bleach and you're bleaching off your counties and you're doing that on a daily basis, one, not only is there no good bacteria, so that kid can't build an immune system, you won't be able to fight off anything in the environment. Two, those chemicals and them huffing those in, 20 cigarettes a day. Purell formula, because it's not real breast milk, it sends the nervous system into a little frantic. Rice and then greens as well. So let's see how this happens. The perfect storm is what I like to call it. The perfect storm in nature happens very rarely. The perfect storm in society, as of right now, is happening constantly. Between those thoughts, those traumas, those toxins that we just looked at, they're causing interference in the nervous system. Dee, can you turn this over here? Can they see that? So I'm gonna write.
Here, there we go.
So there's two parts of the nervous system, right? You have your sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, and you have your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest. When one increases, or when one's regulating, the other is suppressed, and vice versa when they switch off. So if you're in a state of fight or flight, if you're running from that tiger, your body will not digest food. Your body will not boost the immune system because it doesn't give two craps about if you have a cold or not. The body will not you won't have higher cognitive thought. Those things will not happen when you're in fight or flight. And then rest and digest. Once the tiger goes away, it's done, it's gone, and you're relaxed again. Now you can digest food. Now you can boost your immune system. Now you can have higher levels of fertility. Now you can have higher cognitive thought. All these things come into play. The immune system is the exact same way. With our kids, with all of the things that we just looked at right here, all of these things will send a child in fight or flight. And when fight or flight happens, this part of the immune system is upregulated, which means this one goes down. I'm going to tell you why this is important in 1 second. So the Th1 part of the immune system, this is the this is your external environment. So the Th1 part of the immune system is taking care of anything that comes into the environment. So let's say a virus, a bacteria comes into the environment, and now it has to start fighting it off. So this is your atomic bomber. This person comes in, it's like, let's take care of everything that's in here, let's get rid of them. So they have machetes, they have machine guns, they have atomic bombs are dropping on stuff. They're doing everything. So it's super important because this is our fever. This is puking. This is diarrhea. This is fever, puking, diarrhea. This is sinuses draining. So sinus drainage. That's that part of it. Anything that it can use to get rid of, and it's congestion too, because the only reason congestion happens is because it's inflamed. So it is congestion too. But it's all of these things that are showing me that this part of the immune system is active. When this part is active, when H1 of the immune system is up, that means Th2 part of the immune system is down. Th2 part of the immune system, this is your memory. This is your caller ID. This is to make sure, Th2 has to make sure that if it sees that same virus, bacteria, fungus, whatever it may be, come back into the system, it's going to take care of it. So if you think of it, this is external. This is the external environment coming towards you. Excuse me. This is internal. This is how the body, once it's in there and we have some sort of a memory to it, this is how it internalizes this whole process. Okay? Here's what happens. So, when Th2 is the only system that's stimulated, so when this is the only system that is being stimulated, the memory part of the body, when this is the one that's upregulated, this one is downregulated. Here's what happens with that. So just like the nervous system, right? Same thing. They work together, but they don't work, I don't know what you say, in combination or in... They don't work in unison. Thank you. I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, they don't work in unison. When one's up, the other's down. When one's down, the other's up. Got it? Okay. When we were talking about that toxin side. The Th2 stimulators. So stressful pregnancy stimulates that Th2 part of it. And the reason that happens is because it puts mom into a state of fight or flight. When she's stressed out, she's not letting the other side of the nervous system be boosted. That puts that Th2 stimulation into the body. C-section, yes, that's incredibly stressful for that baby, 100%. Vaccines, yes, because vaccines are only stimulating the caller ID, right? Because if you got vaccinated and then you got polio, people probably aren't going to get vaccinated anymore. So when you get vaccinated, it's only trying to stimulate the caller ID. That's why they put dead viruses into people, but then that's also why they have to put things to cause an immune reaction. So the stuff they use to cause an immune reaction is peanut oil, which is, what do you think? Peanut allergies is one of the first allergies that a kid has. It's because it goes straight into the bloodstream and it's bypassing coming into the... they use that. They use... what are the adjuvants that they use? The polysorbate 80 is one of them. There's different things in there that stimulate that response because they're not supposed to be there. Because if they were supposed to be there, then it wouldn't elicit a response. Yeah, and then obviously that vaccine wouldn't do what it's supposed to be doing. So that stimulates the Th2 part of the immune system. The hard part with vaccinations is that they don't cause lifelong immunity. That's why you have to get boosters. So that's the other part about it. You have to get a booster because it only lasts for a short period of time because the body never went through the entire aspect for natural full-fledged immunity. So when they say immunization, that's not technically the correct word. They can say inoculation, they can say vaccination, but you can't say immunization. Immunization means you have immunity for a lifetime. So you technically don't have immunity. When they put that on those signs, it makes me really irked because it's fake and it's false and it's a lie. But it is a vaccination, yes. But it does stimulate only that Th2 part of the immune system. So antibiotics do the same thing. When you take an antibiotic, it downregulates all of these things. So when the kid's ear hurts and it's uncomfortable and all these things that are happening, or they have a fever and they have this, that, or the other, as soon as they take that antibiotic, it downregulates this whole aspect and it only strengthens that Th2 part of the immune system. Formula feeding does the same thing. A subluxation 100% does the same thing. So when a kid's subluxated, inside of the body, it causes that dis-ease, that confusion, right? It's like there's music. If you like Metallica, then that's a little tougher to sell. But it's like something that's headbanging. It's chaos. Try to do homework while you're listening to Metallica. Like, try to study or read while you're listening to Metallica. It's chaotic. But if you have classical music on, the body can do multiple different things and learn why that's all happening. Toxic or deficient diet. Basically, any chronic disease within the body comes down to toxicity or deficiency. Even anything that happens in the immune system, this is a deficiency of the first part of the immune system. And then toxic environment, we've already talked about. So our toxic environment, pesticides, GMOs, like we were talking about with cleaning materials, BPA, plastics, all those things come into play too. So now we need to talk about, why do we care about a humoral shift, right? Why does it matter if only this part of the immune system is strong? They have found humoral shifts, which mean a humoral shift means this part of the immune system is strong, that part is weak. They call that a humoral shift. A humoral shift happens with every single one of those diseases. They found that only the Th2 part of their immune system is strong and the other part of their immune system is incredibly weak. Every single chronic childhood disease is due to an imbalance in their immune system. Even an autoimmune disease, which they would like you to think is their immune system being too strong, not true. It means they're like, their immune system is so strong, it's fighting itself. It's tagging the internal environment as something that's not right. Well, that body has never known what's right, because every time the external environment went to expose itself to it, you downregulated it and said, no, we're not doing that. So every time that kid tried to have a fever and you gave him Tylenol to take the fever away, the body's like, no, we don't even, not doing it. We're not going to strengthen this part of the immune system. When that part of the immune system is not strengthened, anything they come in contact with their external environment is a threat. Anything they come in contact with their internal environment is a threat. And so when that happens, it causes that imbalance. So really, a humoral shift can cause any autoimmune disease that there is. Lupus, IBS, eczema, ADHD, asthma, autism, and allergies are all part of those. I have stats right here that increase over the years. I don't think I even have to tell you the increase over the years. When I went to school, they never asked you what your allergies were. I knew one kid that had asthma. One kid. Even in high school, I knew one kid that had asthma. When I was in high school, I didn't know anybody with autism. I'm trying to think. Allergies, never. Asthma, ADHD, yes. I did know kids with ADHD. I have mixed qualms about ADHD. Lupus, IBS, those weren't even in my realm. I didn't even know what that meant. Why would I know what that means? So, what does it look like when I have to ask, does this make sense? Mm-hmm. It's because it's a very it's complex, and I think an immunologist or a doctor would like to make you think that it's harder than that or it's more complex than that, but when it comes down to it, I've looked at a lot of research and I don't know how much more complex than that, right? Your immune system is more complex. If you put something straight into the bloodstream where in a natural environment, it would go through the nose, go past the tonsil, go past the adenoid, come into the stomach, be processed by the liver and the spleen, go through the digestive tract before it ever even gets close to anywhere into your bloodstream. I mean, that's intense, and I could never explain how that 100% happens. But this overall, does that make sense? Okay, good. Because I want to see, right, like I just said, is in society constantly. What would it look like if it's a beautiful sunrise? I have to say the beautiful sunrise because that's the complete polar opposite of a perfect storm. So what if mom was being adjusted and baby was let's say mom was being adjusted. Even with that stat that I just told you, that there's 50% like drugs that are taken, there's 45% less intervention. There's shorter birthing times. The first time mom has a 24% shorter birthing time if she's adjusted. A second time mom has a 39% shorter birthing time if she's adjusted. I mean, just looking at that alone, I mean, that could save you so much. A pregnancy that was celebrated and it's not a condition or disease. I don't know when that became a disease or it's something you need to go see someone about your disease. Probiotics in the system. A healthy diet with multivitamins, fish oils, vitamin D, a vaginal delivery. Vaginal delivery is so important because it's the child's first meal. I know it sounds so gross, but as they go through the birth canal and the face and the lips brush across it, all of that goes into the system, and it's what coats the entire digestive tract to start getting that child started to have a healthy digestive system. So that's their first set of probiotics, along with breast milk as well. Breastfeeding, love, they're held. And when your kid gets sick, you sure as heck love them through it, but you have to let that kid be sick. The minute that you stop that sickness and you don't just support the body, essential oil is awesome. Great way to support. Castor oil, great way to support. Taking a child through hot and cold, great way to support. If Indy has a fever and it's at like 100, 101, you better believe we're getting to the bath and I'm cranking that up and I'm getting that thing gone as fast, not as gone as fast as possible, but we're going to support it and I'm going to crank up that body and take it to the max. If it's too high, yeah, we're going to go into lukewarm water and we're going to chill out for a little bit. We're just going to support you and your entire body the whole time. When you look at that, you have to ask yourself, what does a child have to lose by not getting adjusted? And I didn't talk a ton about chiropractic because chiropractic affects the immune system. So for me, connecting that brain back to the body back up to the brain, supporting digestion, immune function, thought processes, how we learn, how we express ourselves. I mean, I shouldn't have to sell people on chiropractic. It works. Whether they believe in it or not, they can say, I don't believe in it. Like, okay, well, that's you can easily not believe in this glass either, but that doesn't make it not there or not real. You can choose not to use glass, and if you would love to put wood over this, go for it. And you can choose to not use chiropractic, but it's very real. It's very much happening, and it very much helps millions of people. But when you look at what a child has to lose by not getting adjusted, I don't care if you want to say it by what they gain, but I hope to goodness gracious that they lose less antibiotics in their system. I hope they lose less sick days at school. I hope they lose less visits to the medical doctor. I hope they lose less, however you want to say it is up to you. I appreciate you both for being here and everybody that's tuning in. Is there any questions for me, Dee? Either is there any questions here? Makes sense? Good. Sweet. You guys have a great night. Thank you for being here. Raise the healthiest kids that you possibly can and give them everything that you want for them. It's definitely a process. But yeah.